Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Let's go!
The barbell hasn't changed in over 100 years. I can take a 25-pound plate and we'll go out on the turf and I'll have you hating life. We talk about straining your gut, pushing past that comfort level. I want a lot of energy. What better breeding ground is there?
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 270. I want to thank you guys for listening each week. Truly appreciate those of you that like, share, comment. Just helps us continue to highlight the great people that we have in our profession. Also want to thank our sponsors, and specifically Woodway, for bringing these episodes to you for free. I only partner with companies that I believe in both the product and the people, and Woodway is by far the best treadmill out there, and they've got fantastic people working in their corporation. So if you're in the market, check them out. If not, please let them know next time you're at a clinic that how much you appreciate them being a part of things. This week I'm joined by a buddy of mine, Mike Rehfeldt. He's the head strength coach for University of Cincinnati basketball. Been a bunch of places, a very similar path, a lot of similar mentors along the way, and known him for quite some time. So appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, it's my honor, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Just had a baby recently as well, so congrats to you as well.
Yeah, you know how it is. We don't get much sleep already, and then double duty right now. Three weeks old. So.
Well, man, we like I said, we've walked some similar paths. You've been with the Jaguars, you've been with the Bengals, you did the UFL. A handful of places there. Which place do you feel like you really grew up as a strength coach?
That's a hard question. I think all the experiences had some type of impact on what type of coach I am today. And I guess I'll just go through them. Post-college, I got an internship down in Jacksonville with Mark Asanovich, that same, you're one of your mentors. And he taught me so much on how to be organized, how to be professional, how to cancel out the noise of this profession and just look at the, be more principle-based as a strength coach. So learned a ton from him, owe him a ton. After that, I got my first head job with the United Football League, which is a startup football program back in, I want to say it was 2010, 2009. It was right when the lockout was going on with the NFL. So they're trying to start this thing. Well, I was my first head job, only strength coach, doing everything myself, had no weight room, drove out to Casa Grande, Arizona, and just had to start a strength program from scratch, and had really no help. So learned a ton from that experience, just kind of jumping in the deep end of the pool and had to swim. After that, I ended up hopping out with the Cincinnati Bengals with Chip Morton. Learned a ton from him. In relationships, how to become more of a relational strength coach, how to build partnerships and relationships with players, build buy-in. On top of that, just being more open-minded of different coaching philosophies, modalities, tools, up-and-coming things, looking for that next step, leaving no stone unturned. And he really showed me the benefit of that.
Yeah, then you've been at Cincinnati for quite some time now and doing a fantastic job there, and that in and of itself is a learning experience for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a whole different world, switching from the NFL football world to college basketball.
Yeah. Well, you don't make those stops without making some mistakes along the way. What's the biggest mistake you made and how you learned from it?
Well, I'm sure I made a few, more than a few. But I think coming straight in, to a college setting with college basketball players, a little different mentality. I learned quick, but you had to do – and it was a good experience with the NFL because, you have to use a little bit more carrot than stick. Hate to use that, a terminology, but you wanted the guys that feel like they got better every day. The buy-in, I have to sell my program every day. I have to recruit my players every day to believe in what we're doing here. I think you have to do that a little bit more with a basketball player coming from high school that maybe never lifted a weight before. they're not very good at it. They're long-limbed athletes. They're never going to be great lifters, but we can use it as a tool to help them on the court, and you have to sell that every day.
Yeah, no, I love that. You got to recruit them every day. I think that's good advice, regardless of sport. As long as you go in there every single day and you're creating buy-in and trying to get them to believe in you and what you're doing, because that's the job, really, ultimately.
Right. Absolutely.
Coming from a football background, going into a basketball setting, obviously it's a little bit different mentality, but you've kind of maintained a common thread there of making sure that you're lifting, you're building armor and hypertrophy. Talk a little bit about the value of having, bigger basketball players or focusing on hypertrophy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge part of what we do here at Cincinnati. It's something I think it's fundamentally something that we know for a fact that can help the athletes every day at practice, game day, to limit the chance of injury. We know, the physiological adaptations are going to take place. We know we're going to put on more armor. We're going to build muscle. We're going to strengthen every joint head to toe, and they're going to be more of a more durable athlete. We can do plyometrics. We can do dynamic effort type things. We can do, all the bells and whistles. But if we're not getting these kids stronger, we're not making them more durable, we're not decreasing their chance for injury, I'm not doing my job as a strength coach, and I'm not helping our team win and help our coaching staff. So I want to keep my guys on the floor, and so that's why I really believe in that. And basketball, it's kind of a myth, or not so much a myth, but they tend to, some coaches and some players think that's going to, hurt their skill, and it's totally the opposite. And I think LeBron James is one of the biggest things that's happened for basketball, especially college coaches. He's a great example. He's a big, strong, explosive athlete, and he obviously invests a lot in his body. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's changed in the last, 8 to 10 years for us.
Yeah.
Have a role model like that.
Amazing how much strength can fix along the way.
Absolutely.
You one thing that I've always respected about you is you're constantly tinkering. You're always trying to find something to make your program better, and I think that goes back to an Asanovich thing where he would always have us move around the weight room in between breaks.
Yeah.
Different things, just to change it a little bit,
Yep.
You've over the years, last couple of years, you've really invested a lot in technology and bringing that into the fold, and specifically Omega Wave. Talk a little bit about how you're using Omega Wave to tweak your programming with these athletes.
Absolutely. So myself and our sports medicine department, athletic trainers, we work hand in hand in, doing more specific recovery, prescribed recovery than just general. The whole old, everyone jump in the cold tub or everyone get on a foam roller. We try to make it more scientific and more specific with our prescriptions. So one thing we've done, we have a partnership with a military base up in Dayton, and they helped us out a lot. And we do some cortisol blood draws, and we use Omega Wave to dictate our recovery protocols and prescriptions.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially given the state of the union right now with some of the issues that are facing college strength coaches, to try to have as much information about the athlete and their recovery process and where they're at and where they're at during training and those types of things. And Omega Wave can be something that definitely helps with that. What would you say to the cynical coaches that are like, if my athletes, I have them for 2 hours a day, they got 22 hours to mess up everything we just did. If they go and they, stay out all night drinking, hang out with their girlfriend all night, show up to a training session, they haven't got any kind of proper recovery. Why should I reward them, by backing off in the weight room?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I necessarily use it that way, right or wrong. I mean, we're going to train no matter what, but we're going to use the Omega Wave to get more insight what's going on with the central nervous system. It's not a skeletal muscle thing. It's actually, and we use it more in season than anything with our specific recovery. So based on if he's high parasympathetic, high sympathetic, or low CNS, we're going to dictate his training that way. So if a guy's low CNS, we're going to do some train modifications, do some more plyometric stuff to try to adjust it. We also change the recovery strategy. So for instance, if a guy's high sympathetic, we won't have him go in the cold tub. That could actually make it worse.
Right.
So just for that, and I had no idea before I started working with the sports med department that was even an issue. The old school, everyone get in the cold tub. So we're getting a little more insight using sports science to help dictate the recovery. Also from nutrition, using cherry juice or more acidic foods or things like that, depend on omega wave data. We also are fortunate enough to have a float tank here. That's been awesome. It's almost a cure-all for the CNS. But anyways, back to your question, is you have to find time to use sports science in your program. Don't leave any stone unturned, and it doesn't mean you have to sell in and change your whole program, but you can use it to have a little more insight on your athletes' day-to-day, state, especially in season. And basketball is such a sport where we're practicing, traveling, playing games three times a week. You have to modify. You can't have the blinders on as a strength coach. You have to open it up to see all the stresses they have.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think it just, with any technology, it gives you an opportunity to educate the athletes. You can
Absolutely.
You can see a lot of times. You can see if that's an all-nighter, or if that was a decision that was being made, outside. And that's an opportunity too to teach and grow. And I think that's important.
I totally agree.
You also know the tool you use is light therapy. For performance and sleep. It's something that's newer to me. What are you doing with light therapy, and how's it being utilized there at Cincinnati?
Yep. So we're lucky enough we have a Thor bed, which uses red light. The scientific term is photomodulation, and it's a really, really new science, and it's growing, especially with Olympic athletes. And it's a science of using light for, and people have been doing it for a long time with lasers, but this is low-level light to basically stimulate the mitochondria into recovery. So based on CNS data, we can put someone in a Thor bed versus a cold bath. We can use Thor bed pre-practice to get them going from a CNS standpoint. We also can use it for skeletal muscle recovery because there's some infrared that's going on there too with heating up the tissues and increasing circulation. Additionally, I stumbled upon, this year we had a bunch of early games, and at the end of the year, our last game was at Wichita State, 11 a.m. Central Time. So all year I was trying to figure out a way, and basketball players by nature, for the most part, perform a lot better later in the day, for whatever reason. But I was trying to figure out a way, how can we increase our performance? How can we, get that jet lag, get that sleepiness out of them? And I stumbled upon blue light therapy. And before I even stumbled on the device I use, I was reading a book on sleep, and one of the best things to do to adjust for jet lag and to increase for better sleep tonight before a game is the night before, get up early and watch the sunrise. And the reason that is there's specific wavelengths of blue light that will hit you have all these photoreceptors in your eyes, and that actually increase serotonin and decrease melatonin. It'll start shutting off your melatonin, which in nature, that's what we always done. And the more serotonin you can boost in the morning, the more melatonin you produce at night, and you'll have better sleep. So we're out in UCLA, West Coast game, and I got the guys up. We did like a morning routine outside, and I thought it was really beneficial. And then there's a product called AO glasses. You wear them. It's a blue light therapy. About 20 minutes, I'll have the guys get up. We'll wear them at breakfast, especially if it's a noon game. They'll eat, for 3.5 hours of a game. They'll wear that. And studies shown is that blue light will shut down melatonin production up to 4 hours. So if an athlete's traveling West Coast, East Coast, or for my athletes that noon is really for them like 6 a.m. for their body clock, we can kind of hack that and try to decrease their melatonin production or shut it down so their cognitive ability and their physical performance can increase. And last year we had a really good team, but we didn't lose a game before 1 o'clock. All those early games we won. And there's a lot of factors to that, but
Sure.
that was one of the devices we used as and I think it's going to be an up-and-coming thing. I think the next 5 to 10 years with the Thor beds and the blue light and this light therapy stuff is really going to be the new thing. So hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of tools there, and I mean, Cincinnati is, mid-major or BCS obviously, but it doesn't have all the same funds as maybe one of these SEC schools or Pac-12 school or something along those lines.
Right.
How are you coming up with the money for all this stuff?
Good question. So our sports med team has that partnership with Fort Wright, and they help out a lot. So we do, studies, blood draws. So you have to find partnerships. Additionally, with the AO glasses, I'll personally reach out, especially a company that's new and they're, trying to get out there. I'll reach out and, if there's some type of discount or, but yeah, my biggest thing is just find new companies that you're willing to partnership with.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it here. So that's the same thing with the float tank. That's with our mega waves. We, it's all through partnerships and,
I think that's, one partnership that you kind of not really just kind of skirted over, but I think is an important one is the partnership with sports medicine, and if sports medicine can go and say this is an athlete welfare issue as opposed to this is a potential performance increase,
right?
That becomes a big, that's a big distinction when you're sitting in front of that AD,
right,
and asking for those monies. So I think that's important.
Absolutely, and it's sports performance, sports med. It's all it's all that Venn diagram. There should be that overlap, and if you're not working and using it as a resource, or if you have biomechanics lab on campus, if you're a strength coach and you're not reaching out and using those things, I encourage you to do so. Even if you're it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to change your program, but if you're getting a little bit more insight on your athlete, how they move, how they're recovering, I think it's beneficial.
That's all good stuff, man. Well, we end the show with some resources here. Give us the best piece of coaching advice you ever received.
Best piece of coaching advice I ever received. I guess basically from Chip Morin, and it wasn't specifically, it wasn't a quote he said, but it's just him just saying, keep an open mind. I think we both kind of came up from the same coaching background. But keep an open mind about modalities, keep open mind about up and coming technologies, and you don't have to, jump 2 feet in. But I guess his thing was connecting the dots. If you see common truths throughout the field, they're probably true. So you try to connect the dots, and how can you use those dots to benefit your guys in your program?
Yeah, I agree. Give us a book, app, and website recommendation.
I got a few apps. I got the book. It's kind of older, but it gave me a lot of insight. It's called The Sport Gene. I'm sure you heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Basically just talking about athletes and, I think as a strength coach, it gives you a good idea of, you can't – here's another analogy. You can't take an F-150 and make it into a Porsche. You only can do so much. And you have to kind of bridge that with some of your coaches. I recruit a kid. We're not miracle workers. We can get kids faster. We can get them in better shape. We can get them stronger, but we only can take them so far based on their genetic potential. And that book gives you a lot of insight of why certain athletes reach, certain standards. There's always those outliers, but I thought that was really good for me as a strength coach in that way. Apps, personally, I use some of the stuff I use personally because it's cheaper, and I think a lot of strength coaches could benefit, especially smaller schools. There's Elite HRV, and you can actually use that with a polar strap. So if you don't get Mega Wave, you can use Elite HRV and get a $60 polar strap, and that hooks up to that, and you can get your morning HRV readings. I use that personally. Sleep Score Max. It's actually a device that connects to an app. It tracks your sleep. I use that. We use that with our athletes this year. It tracks sleep based on movement, respiration. It's a non-wearable. That's why I chose it, because I didn't want my guys wearing stuff, complaining. It sits by their bed and sends out some type of frequency to detect their movement. And yeah, so those are. And of course, personally, I use Polar Beat and Team Polar for our team all the time to track heart rate when we do, especially do non-impact conditioning type stuff like on the bikes or,
right.
So I know what their training intensities are.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, like I said at the beginning, I think one of the things I respect most about you is the fact that you're always thinking outside the box. You're kind of pushing yourself to grow as a coach. And that obviously turns around and benefits your athletes in a big, big way. And, you're obviously, you're dealing with the grind of the job, and then you turn around and have a baby at home. That's always part of it as well. So,
yeah.
Appreciate you coming on the show, man, and share with everybody.
Yeah, no problem. And the tidbit on that, I think one of the great things about being human is being creative. As long as you're not endangering your athletes and it's safe and you're still using scientific principles to base your program, there's nothing wrong with, trying a new technology. As long as it's safe, it's not endangering anyone, and it's been proven. It's just like a football coach trying a new play or, insert something, take it out, and build your program and not have the same thing every day. One, for me as a coach, keeps it fresh and keeps it fresh for the athletes. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind word.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out ronmckeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.